And this is Ken Kraetzer for Marketing Club of New York and CBSI. And we are really happy today to talk to one of the upcoming recipients of an Apple of Excellence Award from the Marketing Club of New York on their 2023 Silver Apple Award dinner that's coming up very soon in New York City. And glad to talk to this recipient of the Apple of Excellence, and that is John Nardone. John, good to see you today.
Thanks so much, Ken. Good to see you too.
Very good. And John, you've had a very interesting career. You come out of Duke University, and you got a real entrepreneurial streak in companies. Led you to your last stop was Mediaocean, an advertising technology company. Tell us a little bit about the commonality in your career. You've been a terrific entrepreneur.
Well, thanks, Ken. So I really became interested in advertising while I was still in college. Two of my fraternity brothers' dads were in the business, and I was immediately smitten with the idea of crafting communications for consumers. But I also then got exposed to the impact of technology. While I was at Pepsi, began working with a little consultancy called Modem Media that was all about using new emerging technologies for marketing. And that led me to join up with GM O'Connell and Doug Allers, who were the founders there. I was the 17th employee. And that put me in a position to build the very first commercial websites for companies like MasterCard and Delta Airlines and CBS, and to put the first ads on the internet for Coors Brewing Company and AT&T. I was the 17th employee in 1994. We went public in 1999 with 800 employees. So that was a wild ride in the formative days of the internet and creating the commercial foundation for advertising as the growth driver. So from there, it was just always about what's the next way the technology is going to impact marketing and sort of riding that wave.
Well, certainly you've seen a lot of change in the business in terms of you mentioned developing some of the early commercial websites and then advertising on the internet. And what really to me is a huge change was the implementation of mobile about 10 years ago. What have been some of the key moments where technology changed in advertising and communications?
Well, I love talking about the advent of the iPhone in June of 2007 specifically, because the advent of the iPhone really changed everything in terms of how we as consumers interact with advertising. For the first time, we were enabled as consumers to consume content and the advertising embedded in it when we were out and about on the go, and not just sitting, if you will, in a stationary position on our couches in our living room. And the implications of that are really profound because the cognitive processing required for consumers to multitask really changes the way that you internalize information and perceive ads. Today, it's pretty common. All of us, we watch TV with our phones or our tablets in our hands, watching TV and doing email or shopping. We're on the line at the supermarket, waiting in line, and we're on our phones. So our attention is constantly divided. So to me, the advent of the iPhone meant that forever forward, advertising is about competing for the fragmented attention of the consumer in a way that really we've never done before. And it puts a lot of different demands on both the media and the creative.
Absolutely. And the last company that you were had leadership in was Mediaocean, and an advertising technology company, as you've described it. Tell us about that. How a company became an advertising technology provider.
So Mediaocean began as Donovan Data Systems in the late 60s. Michael Donovan founded the company to provide the foundational software for ad agencies to be able to pay publishers and build clients. Over the years, that became the standard for how big ad agencies actually bought and transacted in television. And so I was really excited to have the opportunity over the last 2 years to work on essentially the next generation of TV buying software, because as we all know, the pandemic changed our TV behavior. Streaming exploded on the scene, and for advertisers now, streaming is a foundational part of their TV buy. But the tools and the measurement and the metrics have not caught up with the new reality where you can't just use Nielsen ratings to buy streaming. And so Mediaocean is at the forefront of developing new software, incorporating new measurement, and enabling marketers to transact and buy television in this new environment.
Well, that's terrific. Now, as we mentioned, you're a graduate of Duke University, also an MBA from there. I was going to grad school about the same time. We never imagined all the technology that was going to come on the scene during our careers. Has that been kind of a challenge for you to just stay current and ahead of the technology that's affecting advertising and communications?
I don't know if it's been a challenge so much as really an exhilaration. I mean, this is what makes advertising technology so exciting to me, is that the pace and the rate of technological change never stops. And today, our newest challenge is AI. And I have the same feeling today as I look at AI as I had back in 1994, looking at the dawn of the internet and going, oh my goodness, this is going to change everything. Um, and even with that recognition, when I look back on the early 90s, as much as we knew that the internet was going to be transformative, we really only could foresee a little sliver of how it was going to really change our lives. We couldn't have foreseen Facebook and Facebook sort of toppling governments, or Zoom changing the global labor landscape. I think we're going to look back on the dawn of AI 7, 10, 15 years from now with the same sort of, oh my goodness, we didn't see all of what was coming. We could only see a little sliver of it. And even that little sliver, we understand to be transformative. So being on top of that, I think that's the next exciting vista for advertising technology.
Absolutely. And I had a friend in the industry go to one of the advertising marketing conferences this year, and he said it's a transformation at an event like that, an international event, from traditional advertising companies to really technology companies were the ones that had the big exhibits and the big booths and the big gatherings. Why did that happen? Why did the technology side become so important in advertising and communications?
Well, the ability to interact through the IP protocol, right, really sets up a one-to-one connection between the advertiser and the end consumer, the person on the other end. And because of that one-to-one connection, we have data. And so when you're talking about mass communication, or what I call mass one-to-one, that's all mediated by data, you need technology to manage that. You need data, you need technology to house the data, to process it, and most importantly, at the rate and pace that advertising moves, the technology has to be able to respond in near real time to what the consumer is seeing and doing. That takes real tech and real engineering, and that's why technology has moved to the forefront.
Absolutely. And on November 2nd at the Hard Rock Cafe in Times Square, the heart of New York City, you will be recognized for your career achievements by the Marketing Club of New York, a nearly 100-year-old organization. Some of the great names in the history of advertising communications have been honored with these awards, and you will receive an Apple of Excellence from the organization. What does that mean for you to be recognized by this nearly 100-year-old marketing organization?
Well, it's incredibly flattering, but to me, the most important thing is that it's never just me or about yourself. There's this wonderful team of people and colleagues and partners and coworkers who've been part of the story, if you will, from the beginning. And some of those folks who've been sort of instrumental to my career are going to be joining me for the evening. I hope to see lots of friends there. And these achievements are never just by one person. It's always about the team. And I've been really blessed to have a wonderful, wonderful team of folks to work with over the years.
Absolutely. And last question, what's next? I mean, for yourself, I'm sure you're looking at some new opportunities. And what's next? You talked about AI as being the kind of the key factor driving communications and advertising decisions right now. What's next? Do you see happening in key trend?
Well, certainly AI is going to be the big one, but I think there's another large one where the forces of regulation and privacy are going to be impacting, how we identify consumers, and that relationship between consumers and media is going to change based on a growing understanding of the data that's being collected by these big tech companies about us, and consumers wanting to take more control over that data and protecting their privacy. And I think that's going to lead to advertisers sort of going through another transition here in having to have a much more proactive, permission-based relationship with consumers. I think that's going to be a bit of a hard transition for a lot of marketers, but ultimately a very healthy one for the industry. So that's another area that I'm really focused on as I look for my next opportunity.
Absolutely. The Marketing Club in New York just had a very interesting privacy webinar. And so that is certainly a key focus. John Nardone, a pleasure to talk with you. The Marketing Club of New York will recognize you at its 2023 Silver Apple Awards Banquet on November 2nd at the Hard Rock Cafe. And you will receive an Apple of Excellence, recognizing your extraordinary career with more chapters to be written.
Well, thanks so much, Ken. Looking forward to it.
Good to see you. And again, November 2nd, Hard Rock Cafe, about 6 o'clock start. Should be a gala event. Our team's been working very hard on that, on putting it all together for really a full year. Should be a good one. Thanks for watching. This is Ken Kraetzer for the Marketing Club of New York and CBSI.